Good evening and welcome to the February 27th, 2023 meeting of the Planning Board of the Town of Chatham. My name is Catherine Halpern. I'm Chair of the Planning Board of the Town of Chatham. This meeting is being conducted in a hybrid format, and I'll give you a few points on that in a moment. Please also note that this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. I also need to ask if anyone else is recording the meeting. It's all right to record the meeting, but you do need to notify the chair. I'll give you a few seconds in case you are connected online or by phone and are muted. I don't see that anyone else is recording, so that's fine. So a few points on our hybrid format. This meeting of the Chatham Planning Board is being conducted both in person and via remote participation in accordance with Section 20 of Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021 and shall afford adequate alternative means of public access via Microsoft Teams or by calling the phone number 1-508-945-4410. That's 1-508-945-4410. And the conference ID number is 782-914-269#. That's 782-914-269#. Or as I mentioned, you may join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the agenda that is posted on the town website or by calling the phone number that I just mentioned. Despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide for real-time access. And as I mentioned, we will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. And in accordance with town policy, the public can speak to any issue or hearing or business item on the agenda during the meeting when recognized by the chair. So we'll begin tonight with our regular business agenda. And the first item on the agenda would be the minutes from the February 13th meeting. But actually, before I go to that, my apologies. I should ask for a roll call of the planning board. Art Sprue, are you present?
Art Sprue, present.
Warren Chain?
Warren Chain, present.
Megan Story?
Megan Story, present.
Charlene Greenhalgh?
Charlene Greenhalgh, present.
Bob Dubus?
Bob Dubus, present.
And Bob Wirtschafter is not present, and I am Catherine Halpern. I'm also present. And also, before we go ahead, are there any recusals? Does anyone on the planning board need to recuse themselves from any item on the agenda? Yes, Charlene.
I will need to recuse myself on the Nickerson Family Association application.
Thank you very much. All right. Great. So for the minutes would be our first item on the agenda for February 13th, and also Charlene was absent on February 13th, so you would abstain. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes as drafted? There being none, may I have a motion? Yes.
Move to accept the minutes.
Yes, and may I have a second?
Art Sprue, second.
All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Art Sprue?
Art Sprue, approve.
Warren Chain?
Warren Chain, approve.
Megan Story?
Megan Story, approve.
Charlene Greenhalgh?
Charlene Greenhalgh, abstain.
Yes, and Bob Dubus?
Bob Dubus, approve.
And this is Catherine Halpern. I also approve the minutes from February 13th meeting. Next item on our agenda is a referral to the ZBA. This is a request for a recommendation on the construction of a driveway in the Conservancy District. And the Zoning Board of Appeals has asked us for a recommendation. And I think Thad Eldridge will be presenting. Please go ahead, Thad.
Good afternoon. For the record, Thad Eldridge, East Southeast. The Jacoids are modifying their existing home, 27 Clamshell. The current driveway comes in over the lot line. It's a paved driveway that's right about there. The proposal is to remove the paved driveway and put a new driveway in. Can we go to the second or third sheet? Oh, good. So it's more or less the shortest distance. The basement area is going to be turned into a more formal garage. When the house gets lifted, they'll have the headroom needed for a car. One car will fit inside, one car will be outside, so they'll meet the 2 parking space requirement. Clamshell Drive, I always use it as a one-way anyhow. So they can come in on one side, go in, get out and head out. We're proposing a pervious material. It shouldn't affect the floodplain. The berm that's out here, the landscape feature, we're going to cut that down to make it into a little basin, little depression, and that'll take care of normal stormwater runoff. Of course, if there's a flood, all bets are off.
Great, so they're removing the existing paved driveway and replacing it in another location with pervious material driveway. Do you have any idea of the square footage to compare the existing and the proposed driveways? Just out of interest. I think
If you count the entire existing driveway, it's about the same,
All right,
but that goes on to the neighboring property, so we usually don't count that area
all right,
towards the subject.
great, great. Any questions or comments from board members for that? Yes, Mr. Dubus.
Bob Dewis. Thad, I've known this property for quite a while, and I think that this is probably the best plan I've seen of the remodel for the area. It does give them a place to park. Normally, there's not too much parking down in that area. As always, you'll need a rowboat to tie up when the storm comes, but other than that, I think, I personally think it's a pretty nice job.
We'll put it right there.
Any other comments or questions from board members? I think I would like to ask for a motion to send a positive recommendation to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Yes, Charlene?
I move that we send a supportive referral to the Zoning Board of Appeals for 27 Clamshell Drive for the driveway in the Conservancy District.
Thank you very much. May I have a second?
Warren Chain, I second.
All right, let's do a roll call vote. Art Spru?
Clarification,
Yes.
we'll use our normal conditions that we put into the recommendation?
Yeah, there is a standard sentence we usually put in that, what is it? That the driveway shall be constructed of pervious material and shall allow the unobstructed flow of water. It's something to that effect. And it's just a standard sentence that we add to each referral. Yes, that would be fine.
Madam
those-
Chair, I would accept that amendment to my
Yes,
motion.
thank you very much, Charlene. Yes, go ahead, Art.
Art Spru, approve.
All right, Warren Chain?
Warren Chain, approve.
Megan Story, approve.
Charlene Greenhalgh, approve.
Bob Dubus, approve.
And this is Catherine Halpern, I also approve. Thank you, Thad. Next item on the agenda, thank you, Charlene, is a site plan amendment for 1107 Orleans Road. This is the Nickerson Family Association for a historic barn reconstruction. Once again, we have Thad Eldridge presenting. Please go ahead, Thad.
Good afternoon again. Thad Eldridge, East Southeast, here representing the Nickerson family. When 68 Shell Drive was being torn down, the Nickersons were able to acquire the 1694 barn. That's stockpiled on the site right now, waiting for the various approvals in order to construct it. We've reached approval with the Conservation Commission. The proposal is to clear out all of the invasive or primarily invasive plants that are behind the main site, construct a foundation, fill around it, so there'll be a flat area around the building with just a fescue lawn, 2.5 to 1 side slopes, all planted with native vegetation, and then a path around the bottom of that so that they can keep the invasives at bay. They plan to put stone over the concrete foundation and then reconstruct the barn right there. The walkway is proposed to be extended. This will be large enough to accommodate a handicapped accessible entrance. They're not sure if they'll be able to retool the existing door into handicapped accessible. They do have the barn doors, and that'll certainly be large enough to meet those means. The proposal is really to put the artifacts that they uncovered from the dig site nearby. They want to display those in this building. They don't anticipate any real increase in traffic. And for most of their events and most days, they are perfectly fine with the number of parking spaces that they have. The proposed expansion is subject to the stormwater management standards, and we've gone through all of those where all the new flows are treated and disposed of. If there are questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Great. I'm going to ask Art Sprue if you have any questions or comments with that.
Nothing in particular. I went out to the site. It's a gorgeous site, well-maintained, no issues with parking or any of the other items associated with this. I noted, Ryan, that the HydroCAD reports were not included with my packet. If you don't have them on file, I just asked the applicant to provide those for file, for the planning board's file.
Okay.
Great. Great. And you had no issues with the stormwater report?
None whatsoever.
Thank you, Arthur. Great. And Warren, any questions or comments?
No, only to congratulate Dad for going through the wilderness out there to even put out the stakes. I certainly couldn't have done it, but no, I think it's a terrific project and a great thing that we can save that barn.
Thank you, Warren. And Megan?
I agree. I was on the zoning board when it went through there, and they were saving the barn, so I'm happy to see that it's come to fruition. And like Art, I think that I hadn't been to the property in a long time. I went out there the other day. It's really well maintained, so nice job.
Yeah. Mr. Dubus?
Well, considering it's one of the oldest spots in town that was habited, I don't have any problem with it.
Okay, great.
For me,
And I have no questions, no issues. It is a beautifully maintained property. I think the addition of the barn is going to be a great asset and a wonderful historic showcase for our town. So in that case, if there's no other questions, if the board is so inclined to approve this site plan amendment, it does. You see on your staff report, all the site plan criteria are met. If the board is inclined to approve the site plan amendment, may I have a motion to approve the site plan amendment as proposed with our standard conditions, which are listed in the staff report?
Art Sprue, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, and may I have a second?
I'll
Me-
second. Go ahead, Megan, if you want.
Megan Story, I'll second.
Thank you. Art Sprue,
Art Sprue, approve.
Warren Chain,
Warren Chain, approve.
Megan Story,
Megan Story, approve.
Bob Dubus,
Obdubus, approve.
Mrs. Catherine Halpern, I also approve. Thank you, Thad.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Okay. Now, the next item on the agenda are public hearings for some proposed articles. However, we were planning on starting those public hearings at 5 o'clock. I'm going to confer with Ryan. Should we wait till 5 o'clock? It's only 4:15. But we did post on the agenda that we would allow until 4:45 for a regular business agenda, followed by a 15-minute break. We probably should wait till 5 since that's what we advertised.
Correct, that's what I would advise.
All right, so we should just take a break now till 5 o'clock.
You know, Madam Chairman, if we had been more nicer to the baker, we might have had some baked goods. You know? Too bad we couldn't talk him into the donuts.
You don't think we were nice to the baker?
Oh, no,
Oh,
we
we
were
were pretty
very
nice. Good. Okay, so I think as a courtesy to everyone, and also because we did allow until 5 o'clock for the regular business agenda, we should just take a break now and reconvene at 5 o'clock. All right, thank you.
I could have got a pizza.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the February 27th, 2023 meeting of the Planning Board of the Town of Chatham. We've reconvened after a break, and what we have scheduled at the moment, we have 3 public hearings for 3 articles that are proposing amendments to our zoning bylaws on the agenda. However, I do need to read you an announcement. Later today, it came to the attention of staff and the planning board's attention that there is an irregularity with the legal notice of these public hearings. This could potentially lead to a claim that insufficient notice was provided. We do apologize. This just came to our attention late today, that there was an irregularity in the posting of the legal notice. So as such, the planning board is not able to proceed tonight with opening the 3 public hearings on the proposed zoning articles this evening. This may also affect the timing on recommending the articles to the spring 2023 annual town meeting. So I hope that's clear. We actually cannot hold these public hearings tonight. Just as an addition, there may be sufficient time to re-advertise these public hearings prior to town meeting, to the spring town meeting 2023. However, it's important to note that the board's recommendation on these 3 articles would not be printed in the warrant, nor would the substantive discussion and items that still need to be resolved in these amendments, which were highlighted in tonight's staff report regarding these amendments, these would also not be able to be included in the warrant. And the substantive discussion and resolution of these open items would also not be included in the warrant. So that's where we stand. What we're going to propose is that we defer the consideration of these articles for a future town meeting, since there's not sufficient time to adequately review them and post them in the warrant for May 2023 annual town meeting. We could potentially look forward to a fall town meeting. What we can also do is schedule on the planning board's next meeting, which is scheduled for May 13th. We can schedule a discussion of these warrants, a thorough discussion by the planning board, as well as with the public. So that's what I'll put forth. I'll ask for any elucidation by Katie Donovan and Ryan Christenberry.
For just a clarification.
Sure.
Madam Chair, you had said May 13th. I just want to make sure that people
Oh,
are
I'm
aware that
sorry.
it's March 13th.
I meant March 13th, my error. I was thinking of May for the town meeting. Yes, for our next meeting, March 13th. Ryan, did you have any points to add to what I've announced?
No, I did just want to say that. Can you speak into the microphone, please? Thank you. Sorry. I did just want to say that this wasn't the presentation we were planning for tonight for you, but that staff is committed to continuing to work with you on the items outlined in the staff report. I think we had some discussion with the board at previous meetings about some amendments that could take place as part of this process. I outlined some recommendations for you on those. I think that conversation could continue at a future meeting as a discussion item. But I did want to just highlight that the affordable attainable piece in the staff memo, it was not recommended that you proceed with that at this time by staff, as it's just an incomplete planning solution for a very important topic that we feel at this time needs further attention to address.
Right. And I'll just add, certainly our apologies. And this just came to our attention late in the afternoon about this irregularity with the posting of the legal notice. On the other hand, I think as a board and as a community, it's good to note that this is still, these 3 proposed zoning bylaw amendments are still in process, and they will benefit greatly from the additional time and additional work on them and additional community engagement. So it might be something that will come out ahead in the long run, if I could say that. Any other, I will invite comments from the board. However, we cannot discuss, there can be no substantive discussion of the amendments themselves tonight, since we are not opening the public hearings as planned. Yes, Charlene?
I wouldn't mind seeing this as a discussion item, you know, for moving forward at the next agenda on the 13th of March.
Of March, yes, yeah. Yes, I would also support
I was prepared tonight to do that, so I can be prepared in 2 weeks to do that.
Great.
I agree with that, definitely. I would like to get it discussed sooner than later.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll continue full speed ahead in moving forward with these articles. Yes, go ahead, Art.
But Ryan, that will not be a formal public hearing process for the 13th of March.
Correct, it would just be a public discussion item on a regularly posted agenda.
Okay.
Great, great. And of course, we invite everyone who's come tonight, again, we apologize that you've had to come, but we would invite you to please come on March 13th and engage in the discussion with the board. So,
Would there be a particular time on the 13th that we could anticipate the discussion?
let's see, the 13th would it be a 4 o'clock beginning meeting or a 5 o'clock beginning meeting on March 13th? The agenda will be posted on the website. Yeah, Katie, please go ahead.
Madam Chair, the zoning article public hearing for the property at 1610 Main
Oh,
Street
yes.
is a public hearing at 5 PM on March
Correct.
13th. So the
Yes.
board should discuss whether or not they want to begin meeting at 4 to have this discussion beforehand.
Yes,
You could make that determination.
yes. And it's on March 13th. There's no impediments to begin, other impediments to beginning our meeting at 4 in terms of scheduling rooms and so on? So is the board
Madam Chairman?
available? Yes, Mr.
It
Dubus.
would be better for the discussion of the West Chatham to be at 5 o'clock or later, because a lot of people might not be able to get out of work to come here. And I'd rather have our discussions on minor things first to be able to discuss this.
In that
More
case, I would
people.
recommend the March 27th meeting, because the 13th, the public hearing for 1610 is advertised for 5 PM. So we couldn't have this discussion.
Yes, Charlene?
Can we have the discussion after the public hearing at 5?
Yep,
I
we
mean,
just,
it's not like you need to set a time. You can just have your public hearing at 5 and then this on the agenda after that, which,
A discussion, yes, which presumably
I-
would be at 6.
I would
I
just
would-
think that people could have a bite and come here rather than hustle out of work.
Yes,
I would
Megan?
assume some workers might want to come down here.
I completely agree with you. I think we should do the discussion at 5 or later. I'm not sure that we should do these two discussions together, because I think the issues will be conflated where they shouldn't necessarily be. Just because of the proximity of the two. That's all.
and it's hard to know how long the public hearing could go on the 13th.
And are there other regular business items yet scheduled for the 13th that would extend the time of the
Believe so.
meeting?
Checking.
I'll change my request that we have our discussion on the West Chatham to the 27th of March.
Okay. All right. There's no reason why we can't do it both times. I mean, there's a lot to discuss.
Yep. And there's, you're not continuing a public hearing right now, so there's some flexibility for staff to look at other items that may be on the agenda and talk with the chair between now and each of those meetings and decide where it fits best, but taking into account that starting after 5 is preferable.
Yeah. And I'm going to suggest that we probably can include this discussion to be both on the 13th and the 27th, because there is a lot to be considered. And yes, but I do agree, starting after 5 is better if we want public engagement.
Could I ask?
Yes.
What is the open meeting for on 13th?
It's for the 1610 property, which is the Council on Aging, right?
It's the
Yeah.
rezoning of that parcel.
Yeah, which happens to
Yeah.
be, it's the rezoning of the property that Bill wants to donate to,
Oh,
which I think, again, is not a good idea to have those two together. I think they're not the same issue, and they will be conflated. I feel very strongly that we should separate them. I could be the only one.
no, I agree with you, too.
All right. So there's at least 3 board members who would prefer to defer this discussion to the 27th.
Make it 4, 27th.
And I'm perfectly all right with that.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. No, it's all right. It's a good point. Excellent point. All right, so we'll have the discussion on the 27th, and yes, Katie? At 5 p.m. Yes. 27th at 5 p.m. Good. And then the 13th is the public hearing for 1610 Main Street. All right, great. All right, so any other points from the board members? Because otherwise, I could take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I move we adjourn tonight's meeting.
Thank you very
I
much,
second it.
Charlene. Thank you. So we'll do a roll call vote. Art Spru,
Art Spru, approve.
Warren Chain,
Warren Chain, approve.
Megan Story,
Megan Story, approve.
Charlene Greenhalgh,
Charlene Greenhalgh, approve.
and Bob Dubus.
Bob Dubus, approved.
This is Catherine Halpern. I also approve. And let's note the time as 5:12. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for your participation, and we look forward to seeing you at the next meeting.